Hello, all you wonderful people of the internet. I'm the ZodiacLord, and finally doing more Lunaverse speed paints. Yay! So first things first, if you're new to this little series or whatever, where I just draw a bunch of portraits of my OCs and talk about them, I would highly recommend you go watch the very first one. Watch these from the very beginning because there's some important context that you need to understand what I'm talking about. I mean, I guess you could just watch it, but it's you're gonna be a bit confused. Um, and if I remember, I'll blip something up on screen so you can go click that and go watch it. Still here? Cool. All right, let's talk about this. So today we're jumping from Android, Android futuristic cat boys from another planet to Egyptian demigod cat girl from another world. So yes, today we're gonna do Sphinx, which was fun. So to talk about the art before I talk about the character, I'm pretty okay with how this came out. I'm satisfied. I think it could have come out better, but considering how long it took me to really get her face right, I'm pretty okay with how it turned out. I think her eyes look a bit wonky, but it's acceptable. It's not my favorite, but definitely not the worst. It definitely turned out pretty satisfactory in my opinion. So yeah, it was pretty fun little thing. I like drawing Sphinx, to be honest. She's just, I don't know, I find her to be a pretty character to draw, I guess, in my own opinion. So yeah, that was kind of the little thing. So let's talk about Sphinx, shall we? I was going to talk about her backstory in this video about 3 times, and it just took way too long, and it took up the whole video because she's got a pretty detailed backstory, and I didn't even get into like actually how she became a demigod and that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and hopefully I'll remember. If not, you can yell. I'm going to try and put some links in the description to images on DA where I actually talk about her backstory and like her parents and stuff like that. So feel free to go read about that if you're interested. If not, then that's cool. You don't necessarily need to know it, but yeah. So first I want to establish some little lore things because this is Lunaverse. I love world building a lot, and I love coming up with all these different worlds and things like that, and Sphinx's world is no exception. So she comes from what is known as a mirror world, or more specifically a funhouse mirror world, which I'm not going to get totally into details about what that is because that's a whole entire concept in of itself, which actually justifies AUs and things like that too. But yeah, all you need to know is that she's from Earth, but like a different version of Earth, basically. And the version she comes from is basically where ancient Egypt never fell and instead became in like the superpower of the world. So basically Egypt takes over most of the world, basically. So there's like certain places that never existed. There's conflicts with like different kingdoms. A lot of the gods in the mythology, in like their Egyptian mythology, actually change because something I've noticed. Not to go too in depth, but just fun little storytelling fact from my own experience. Something I noticed with mythology whilst I was looking at Egyptian mythology for Sphinx was that things tend to change over time. In fact, the actual god that turned the goddess who turned Sphinx into a demigod actually had a lot of changes to what she was like throughout history, throughout the mythology. And also, I saw that there's certain places that worship gods for different reasons, or they perceive gods differently. So there's a lot of that that takes effect in Sphinx's world. It's been a lot of fun to come up with and create and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's basically ancient Egypt, and obviously it's advanced quite a bit because it's still like it'd be the same time chronologically as our time would be, only it seems to like as if it has advanced but not as much technologically. I don't know, it's hard to explain, and I don't want to take up the entire video talking about it, but yeah. And there's conflicts with the fact that there are other races and cultures still, but they're very minor, and the otherworld Egyptians are kind of have a lot of prejudice against a lot of the other cultures and things like that. They kind of look down upon them a little bit, for one reason or another. But yeah, so there's a lot of context there, and again, you can read more about it from the things in the description. But for now, I'm actually going to talk a bit more about current Sphinx. So first of all, her lightish indigo hair, her green eyes, her ears and her tail, she was not born with that. That came as being a demigod. In this world, the sort of lore, so to speak, in this world is that when a demigod is either born or created, because both happen, the person will gain attributes similar to that of the god that was the creator of them, and their hair color will basically match that of whatever god or goddess. And in this, of my interpretation, the gods and goddesses all have like a unique hair color to each other, so like all of them kind of have their own little thing going on. And Sphinx's was this color. So yeah, just a little fun fact. Maybe I'll talk about it more another day. I still need to develop more a lot of the gods and stuff. I mean, trust me, there's someday on whether it be on DA or YouTube, there'll be probably things where I actually draw interpretations for Lunaverse, or for other Egypt, quote unquote, is what I call it, and what their gods and goddesses would look like and stuff like that. But anyway, so Sphinx. That took way too long. So Sphinx, actually, her origin as like a character I had, like most other Lunaverse characters, especially of the main characters, she was originally an adoptable that I bought. So the design was not my own originally. It was actually from a gacha. It was like a Monster Girl gacha or whatever. And I got Sphinx. And I actually really like kind of the idea behind her, which was like an Egyptian theme kind of thing. And the person like gave her ears and tail. And usually like when you see cat girl kind of characters, the ears and the tail match the hair color typically, or something of that nature. But I really liked how Sphinx actually had the tail and ears matching her skin color, because that's actually reflective of actual Sphinx cats. And now Sphinx actually can, one of her little things that she can turn into a Sphinx cat, which if you don't know what a Sphinx cat is, you can look up pictures. They're a hairless cat, basically. So I kind of like that, and that's something I very much kept. And originally when I had her, I didn't actually expand too much on the Egyptian thing. Every time I reflect on old Lunaverse, I like cringe a little bit inside. It was so terribly written. But later on, as I started to change and improve Lunaverse, I decided I wanted to expand a bit more on the more Egyptian theme side of Sphinx, which is why I created other Egypt and stuff like that for her and her little world lore and all the other kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a kind of a fun thing. So Sphinx herself, ignoring her backstory, all you need to know is that she became a demigod, things happened, and she's always been she's been very intelligent, rather lazy, and she's very flirtatious, which is very much reflected. And she loves drama. She doesn't really like being the center of drama, but she loves causing it and watching it play out. It's so entertaining for her. And she'll even admit that she finds it absolutely entertaining to watch. And she loves it. And she's very prone to manipulating people and things like that. In fact, one of her things is, because she is kind of a more catgirl-esque character, a very common facade she plays is a sort of like innocent, well, maybe not necessarily innocent, but like innocent, couldn't do anything wrong, little like sweet, just can't, maybe even damsel distress-esque sort of facade, which it depends on who it is. In Lunaverse household itself, Luna learns very quickly to see through this facade, and she's never tricked by it. And she catches Sphinx all the time in it. And you should know that of Luna, she really hates Sphinx. Sphinx gets on her nerves a lot, especially because she's very good at tricking other people in the household and things like that, because characters like Infinity and Jackson never seem to learn to see through the facade. It always seems to get them every time. So very often you'll find Sphinx tricking Jackson or manipulating Jackson to do certain things. And sometimes Jackson will feel hurt when he finds out, but he seems to never learn from it, which is a very big little relationship dynamic in the group and stuff like that. And it's actually funny because Infinity and Jackson were actually the characters that found Sphinx originally. How Sphinx joined the household was that after Chrome and Virus showed up, they kind of got settled in. Chrome kind of ended up like locking, like when he was given a room, he locked himself in there. I mean, he doesn't have to eat or whatever, so he just kind of chilled there. And Virus, however, actually was kind of curious, so he actually interacted more. Things kind of ended up being not normal, but like relatively calm. And then, lo and behold, Jackson and Infinity go out one day, and like Jackson's helping Infinity around. They're just kind of exploring, and they find this little hairless Sphinx cat just with the cutest bandana ever, just there. And the cat seems really nice and curious and like sniffing their hand, and they find it absolutely adorable because Jackson's very like heroic, I want to protect things. And although he likes dogs, he still found the cat. He was like reluctantly like, oh, I hate to admit it, but you've won my heart, kind of thing, you know, like. And Infinity loves everything, so they both decide, hey, I totally want to keep this, and the cat would follow them, and they're like, it's destiny. So they ended up bringing this little cat home to the household, and reluctantly, Luna decided, okay, fine, but Jackson, if your dog kills the cat, if that cat dies or runs away, it's not my problem. So they ended up keeping it. Lo and behold, though, they sleep, and the next day, Luna wakes up and like she goes downstairs and just lounging around like on their counter or on their couch or wherever. I don't know. She'll lounge anywhere if she has the opportunity. Like, I like to imagine that because cats get on the counter and you never want a cat on the counter. I like to imagine that she showed up just lounging on the counter in her more humanoid form. And she's just like, oh, hello. And Luna obviously was pretty pissed. I mean, it's certainly not the weirdest thing that's ever happened to her at this point, but she was still pretty, whoa, hold on a second. And they find out that this cat that basically followed Jackson and Infinity home was Sphinx, and they couldn't get rid of her. Like a true cat, they didn't accept her. She accepted them and would not leave. And she probably wouldn't leave too because they were a very entertaining household. They were very unique compared to other humans because she'd been spending some time in the human world, and humans were great and all, but like it's not every day that you find a household with all this different kind of stuff. And so like she finds up, and I mean, Jackson and Infinity are really easy to trick. Chrome is really easy to irritate, so it was heaven for her. And then like she liked making Luna mad. She intentionally provokes Luna all of the time. Sphinx is a very fun character, to be honest. She's a very chaos character, if that makes any sense. I like to consider whenever introducing characters to a narrative, they can either do one thing. They can either mend or they can disrupt. Sphinx is 100% a disrupt character. Characters like Jackson or Infinity kind of bring people together and kind of help peacemake and stuff. Sphinx is not that. She's very much chaos, chaos, chaos. I love it. So she's a very fun character to write and experiment with and all that other kind of fun stuff. So yeah, that's kind of her thing. And she's very flirtatious, which is just great when you have Jackson, who's kind of a hopeless romantic. And she'll flirt with anyone, like male, female, she doesn't care. She'll flirt with you. So yeah, she's a very fun very fun, chaotic character. And she's very much a villain character, quote unquote. She's very much not a great person. She's a chronic liar. She likes to manipulate. She likes to trick. She likes to deceive. She likes to cause chaos. She's definitely not a good person, quote unquote. So yeah, that's what Sphinx is all about. So yeah, I hope to get the next ones done sooner, but that's probably an empty promise at this point. But I do intend to keep doing these, and I really hope that I can eventually start getting to side characters, because once I get into side characters, you get to learn all about other things and other little parts of the world. And I really much enjoy talking about this. I swear, I need to do more live streams where I just ramble about my own, answer questions about my own characters. I enjoy doing that so much. But yeah, so that's about all for her. This ran for way too long. I swear, these are going to progressively get longer and longer and longer. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed hearing about Sphinx. I'll try to put like her reference, her other pictures that tell her story and stuff like that in description so you can read about it, because it's one of the more complicated ones, and it's a lot of fun for me to write. I love her backstory a lot, and I love working on her backstory and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of what Sphinx is all about and stuff like that. So I hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully I can get the next one at some point. The next one will be a very different experience, painting wise. But yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you. Leave a like if you did, and I will see you in the next video, whatever it may be. Zodiac out.